Hey everybody, it's Jerald Forster and Jennifer Rose. And we are going to talk about, surprise, positivity. Now, I'm going to be interviewing Jerald for this video because positivity is in his wheelhouse. It's his bailiwick. It's really his thing. And me, not so much. I'm kind of like following along in his footsteps, figuring out what I can, and I'm making myself more positive through our methods and meditation and other methods. But he is a natural. And so I want to talk to him a little bit, and I'm bringing you in on the conversation because I want to find out more about the roots of his positivity. And we want to introduce a term, intentional positivity, that we started talking about, where we're being positive on purpose. Okay, so that's what's in store for this video. So Jerald, let's talk about your mom. Let's talk about your relationship with your mom and how that fits into your positivity.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't think ever having a conversation with my mother about positivity. So that's something that wasn't a concept that we were aware of or talked about. Uh, but but she was, well, I think of her as one of the the most well best the person with the best mental health of anybody I've ever known. That's what I believe, and uh, and that and that was partly because she was she, she was positive most of the time, and I don't remember her ever seeing her in a real bad, terrible mood um, about things, and so yeah, and so it makes me think, well, maybe it's just genetic. Maybe it isn't something that you learn to do. Maybe it's just you have it or you don't have it. I don't know. That could be the case.
But you grew up in a positive environment with your
Yeah,
mom,
because of
Bessie,
my mother. Yeah, because of my mother. Yeah.
and so you had an example that you could
Yeah.
follow. But what I hear you saying is that you didn't really follow her example. You just, you were in that environment and you kind of felt
Well,
similarly.
well, I wasn't aware of any of that stuff,
No, kids
because
wouldn't
I don't know
be,
what
would
was
they?
happening.
It's
Uh,
all looking back on it now.
right. Yeah. Yeah. But I know that she had what I now call really good mental health, and she had reasons not to have it. I mean, she had really serious uh, condition, physical condition where she was pretty sick a lot of the time. But you'd hardly ever knew it, how sick she was.
What kind of sickness was it?
Well, see, let me think about that now. I forget. Uh, yeah, I can't really remember. Uh,
Would she
yeah,
get laid out?
maybe I was. Yeah, I know. At one time, I remember so there was some conversation about her maybe needing to be hospitalized because of it.
Hmm.
And I was just I was just said, no, there's not that's not even needed, or that's silly. That I remember some type of conversation about that. And I don't know, it was she did have serious physical problems, in her life, and yeah, I forget the details of it now. It's all kind of passed away,
That's
passed.
all right. Yeah, that was a while back. But when
Yeah,
you were a kid, was that the case that she was sometimes unwell?
yeah, it was.
So
Yeah,
that wasn't when you were older, that was when you were young.
yeah,
So she was young.
yeah, some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. So you're saying that she was positive. despite
Yeah,
having
right.
the same challenges that all of us have, right? Most of
Right.
us have
Yeah,
some
right.
challenge.
Yeah, right. Yeah. She was an amazing, well, she was really she was I think she had the best mental health of anybody I have known in my life. Yeah.
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 And you're saying that that was evidenced by her mood, that
Yeah.
she did whatever came up, it
Yeah.
didn't affect her
Yeah.
mood.
Yeah. No, yeah. She dealt with everything really well. That I don't yeah. hmm
And for some of us, that's hard to even imagine. But
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
wonderful thing.
Yeah, it was.
All
She
right,
was
so
I was really fortunate that she was my mother, and and uh and I think I inherited, if I inherited or learned from her just by growing up, that I just benefited from that a lot. Yeah.
mm,
I attribute who I am, a lot of it, to her.
yeah.
hmm
And in these early years, can you think of other things that would explain or to which you could attribute your own positivity, or any stories that you recall in which you noticed that you were a positive person?
No, I don't think I was very aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I was.
I just remember one story you told me once about seeing a gruesome car crash and
Yeah.
noticing
Oh, yeah, I
that you
did.
were not particularly adversely affected
Yeah, I
by
couldn't think
the
I remember that. I remember that.
difficulty of
Yeah, I
that.
remember where I lived. That was in Minneapolis. Yeah. And it was when I was in, I think it was when I was in college.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
okay. But that was something you noticed about yourself, but not something you drew a conclusion from and said,
Just noticed it. Yeah.
gee, I sure am positive.
Well,
Okay.
no, positive. I wasn't positive about the accident,
No.
but I didn't get all upset, and couldn't do anything or all that. When people get real reactive.
Reactive, exactly. That's a key word right there. It's our reactivity a lot of times that causes us to
Yeah.
suffer. And a word that comes to mind is equanimity, that in the face of that
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah. hmm
terrible accident, you felt a sense of equanimity, it seems like to me. Anyway, I thought that was a good story to show
hmm
your centered, sort of peaceful
Yeah.
positivity. And then there's a story. This is, I'm trying to like now get to intentional positivity,
hmm
where we choose to be positive. And do you have thoughts about where that started for you, where you started to value that, or where you started to say, I'm going to make a choice to be positive?
No, I don't remember any time like that.
I
I,
am.
I think it's only recently when we really have focused on positivity as a practice that I've even kind of become kind of aware of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
That's
I,
so interesting.
yeah,
Okay, that's super
yeah,
interesting. Okay, I'm going to try to piece it together for myself then.
okay, good. Yeah,
And we'll
good,
see what we come up with. So,
okay.
there's a key moment in your life that I'm aware of where you were in a lecture in college
Oh, yeah,
about
I remember that.
reification.
Yeah, reification, yeah, I remember that, yeah,
And the way I would put that into words, and I want you to correct me,
okay,
would be that the professor explained that when we put language to
yeah.
something that's otherwise vaguely perceived internally,
Reification, yeah,
we're making it more real
reification is making something real, that was previously kind of not considered that, yeah, reification.
through language, right?
Through language, yeah, you have to, articulation, you have to articulate something to have it happen, yeah,
Yeah. And that has been a key concept throughout your whole career, in my mind, the
okay,
articulation.
yeah, right, being able to be able to say something in words that you previously was kind of mushy and kind of unclear for you, but you had some feeling something was going on. But then when you finally get the words for describing what it was in a clearer way, that's articulation, and that's reification happens then because that becomes real.
Isn't that a beautiful concept?
Yeah, yeah,
I
right.
remember you telling me that after that lecture, you
Yeah,
stayed in the lecture hall
I did. Yeah,
thinking about that idea
yeah,
while everyone else left.
yeah, right. Yeah, reification. I still remember that. Yeah, reif. Yeah, how it seemed. It was kind of an exciting idea, to put it into articulate it. Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So articulation has stayed with you. That concept of articulation and reification has
Yeah,
stayed with you throughout the rest of your life, I think, and is central.
yeah, right. And of
Yeah.
course, that's a lot of what we do when we talk here. We're articulating stuff that we typically wouldn't, maybe unless we were talking with each other and focusing on it.
Yeah.
But it happens all the time,
Yeah.
but you don't notice it most of the time.
And I can remember you being passionate about the idea that people don't share the same reality. I can remember that from when
Yeah,
I was a kid.
that's really important for me. Yeah, that's where the idea of personal construct psychology had a lot to do with that. Personal construct psychology was George Kelly stuff, was that was a key idea of constructionism. That is that you in a way it's a reification of you yeah I kind of lost it, I guess, now, but you sort of, all once you have words for it, you can recognize something that you previously was kind of mushy or kind of unclear, and all once it's clarity in your mind, and often clarity that you can describe it in some way with
Yeah.
words that you previously hadn't used for that.
Was it personal construct theory that had the three items and two are the same and one is
Yeah,
different?
right. Yeah, that's right. That's crucial. George Kelly stuff. George Kelly came up with that. That are two alike and different from the third.
That
Uh,
seems almost like a pre-articulation tool for kind of getting
hmm,
evoking some of those mushy concepts that are central to how we view the world, and then having made those connections, or should I say comparing and contrasting,
yeah.
then it becomes possible to articulate
Mhm.
and to gain self
Yeah.
knowledge and insight.
Yeah. Right. It's such a crucial thing. You just take three of anything, but he did it was how ideas, but take three of anything, and take three objects out of the blue anyway, and say, now look at these three things at the same time. Which two are most alike and different? How are they different from the third? And how are they alike and different from the third? And that basic process tells you kind of what that's articulation of something that's different or similar or different. And so that's crucial in our moment to moment processing.
Yeah.
We're always doing that. We're always we're always seeing connections between things, and that's how our view of reality appears. That we connect things that previously, oh, these two things together make, oh, the different, oh, there's, and that's your view of reality. I mean, I can't, I'm looking out this window now and seeing the garage and trees and so forth, and it doesn't seem to be uh, applicable there, except I suppose it is. Like no, maybe it's only relevant to concepts where we're trying to describe something. Like I'm seeing the garage and I'm seeing tree, and the garage is different color, gray and maroon, and the tree is real green, and that they're obviously different, and how they're different, they're, and alike is real clear to me that's the scene I see. Now, if I was trying to describe a person, though, maybe some people talking together or something like that, or doing something, I would be using different language for that. But in both cases, what you're looking at is you're trying to differentiate something from something else to see this is what the scene is. This is what reality is for me now. What I'm ever focusing on, and that our minds are doing that all the time. That no matter if we're looking at a scene or if we're just got our eyes closed at night trying to go to sleep or something like that, you're still you're you're still trying to figure out, what is reality for me? What am I thinking about right now? And and you're using some basic concepts, basic ways of doing that. I don't know, maybe that's too obvious.
No, it's not at all too obvious. To correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of the point is just to go back to the simplest one, looking out the window and seeing a garage and a tree,
Yeah.
that you focused on the color, but
Yeah.
another person might focus on the shape or on the
Yeah, you could do that.
constructed versus natural. And I think part of the
Yeah.
point is that everyone's doing it differently. Is that correct, or is that not?
Well, now that you mention those things, all those things you just mentioned, I'm aware of. I mean, and
Of course, of
I
course.
just chose to say the tree versus the garage, and the colors are different.
But another person would do it in a different way. Isn't that
They
part of
probably
it?
do. They look at something else. Everybody sees any scene in their unique way.
Their unique way. And what you kept
There is,
repeating as you were talking was reality for me.
yeah,
So you're
reality. Yeah.
you're saying it's personal, that reality
Yeah,
is personal.
you construct your own reality.
That is a
Yeah,
big,
yeah,
important idea.
it is, right. You construct your reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we were talking about earlier how people are resistant to the idea of intentional positivity and how it might be related to resistance to the idea of a constructed reality, that people are pretty keen
Mhm.
on the notion that there is a real reality out there. And
Yeah,
there are many people, not everyone, pretty resistant to the
yeah,
idea of a constructed reality.
yeah. Well, then there's the idea of science. Now, science is basically based on the idea that that people, if you want to study reality, you get people experts in what you're studying, and you have them looking at something or observing, and then they're saying how this is what they see and what it is, and then in the scientific world, you don't get to say something is true unless other people can agree with you, that other people who can see the same things and agree with you. Then that's starting to say, no, that's agreed upon reality, and that's a big deal. That the scientific method is based on that, to just to get along in the world. In When it gets real complicated, you need to do that. But each human being, as they go through their daily day, they are constantly observing things and creating what they think is going on in their mind, and it's unique. And some people are noticing certain things, and some people in the same room are noticing something completely different. And so there isn't a common reality there. There's just each individual having their unique reality. And then, but then it, to do group activities, you have to sort of be in touch with each other. And so if you're working with somebody who has a different reality than you do, you don't get very much done because you're disagreeing about what you're seeing and doing. And so it's really good to be able to describe your reality, and the other person can do it too. And then if they see the same thing you're seeing, then that's closer to what our common reality, and then that works well. But and then when people get schizophrenic and distorted and so forth, their realities are so different from other people that they don't get along very well in the society because they have this unique way of seeing the way things are. And so there is a quality that some people are better at seeing the reality than others, and of course it varies in what reality you're talking about, but and so that's all really important. Yeah, but
But the underlying concept has to do with a personal reality.
everybody has a personal, unique reality, and it's real hard to sometimes if you grew up maybe siblings, maybe twins who grew up together they would have an awful lot of overlap of their realities. But then that isn't the case usually. That usually everybody comes with their unique perspective. And of course, if you talk about people you've grown up with or have worked a lot with, and you get to know them really well, you get the feeling, oh boy, they're seeing pretty much the same reality I'm seeing.
Yeah.
But it varies a lot too. And then,
Can you think of a time when you noticed that you were seeing things in a more positive way than another person? Does that happen?
well, I think I'm aware of that a lot. I do notice. I do notice that I do notice the other person's negativity more than most. I think because I'm just aware of negativity and positivity, and so and I can detect someone who's feeling negative quicker, I think, or I pay more attention to it maybe than a lot of people do. I'm not sure about that.
How long has that been going on for you? Just having that awareness?
I don't know. I don't know. It could maybe for a
Was
long
that like when you were a kid, or was that just developed later with your
I don't
education?
remember. I don't remember the developmental part of that.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm curious about where the
Yeah.
valuing positivity came from. There must have been some contrast for you where you went, you know what, positivity is a better way to go at some point.
Oh, yeah, boy, I don't know when that was.
And I'm thinking it's got roots in your upbringing, and it's got roots in your constructivist background.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I wonder if there's a time
I don't
when
know,
you
yeah.
bought
Well,
in.
yeah, I think, what my involvement in personal construct psychology had quite a bit to do with this, my
Mm,
awareness of it.
yeah.
It's personal construct, that idea that the key idea, George Kelly had, when you say you get three things in front of you, and you say, how are two alike and different from the third? You're
Mhm.
using a construct to differentiate between the three of them.
Right.
And so that's the key idea of
Yeah.
that. And if you're aware of that process, and then I think it changes you a little bit.
Yeah, and if you realize
Mhm.
that you are construing things, then and you notice that positivity makes you feel good, it would make sense
Yeah,
to veer in that direction.
yeah,
Absolutely.
right. Yeah, right. Well, well, actually, that's what, therapy in psychology, therapy is basically the process of helping people who are seeing things badly, help them to prove and so they don't see things so badly anymore.
Mm,
Therapy is you
right.
you do it by talking about the things that are bad, and then getting a somewhat new idea about it. I
Mm,
mean, that's therapy. But
mm,
what I'm talking about now is something different from therapy.
mhm.
It's about right from the beginning. Um, can you detect uh, inappropriate negativity early and do something about it and get the person to see things more broadly so that they see the positive and the negative more, and don't get overwhelmed by the negative part. That's
Mm.
what when therapy occurs, that's when people they're overwhelmed by bad stuff, and then you got to do something dramatic about, have them talk about it, or all that, go through stuff like that to try to change them. But if you don't wait for the therapy stuff to happen, but you work as early as you can to have people aware of when they're feeling positive and negative, and if they feeling negative too much in the wrong ways, you try to interact with that early and get them to, right from the beginning, when they're first starting to feel good or bad about something, to become aware of, oh, this is, I'm feeling bad about something, and now stop and maybe focus on it again, and try to see some good stuff in that, and maybe you can, by focusing more on the positive, can prevent you from going overwhelming into this negativity stuff that gets people into real trouble. It is totally negative.
You somehow thought that was possible for people to and I think it's because of your background in constructivism that you had a lot of optimism about the possibility of shifting that.
Yeah, people can change that. Yeah, a lot of people in psychology don't have that. They just feel, oh well, you get clinical psychology is that you take people who are in bad shape and you work at trying to make them a little bit better, but they don't focus on how in the early stages of, if you can do something about it. I mean, it really
You were already on that track when you started the Center for Dependable Strengths with Bernard Haldane. You already had that background in
yeah,
constructivism.
yeah,
And I think that played a part in how you developed that Center for Dependable Strengths, and how you brought the word articulation into that process that was developed for helping people replace their job resumes with strengths profiles or something like that. Can you, how did that part play into, how did that play into this positivity? We're still focusing on positivity, but it's a little bit of your career path at the same time.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah. I can certainly see the themes, but yeah, that's true.
So when you brought the word articulation into that process, can you remember at this point what your motivation was, or why that was important?
No, I don't think so. I think that came later, that constructivism, getting into constructivism was the big deal. George Kelly stuff.
Yeah, and then the Center for Dependable Strengths at the University of Washington and the quads, where I personally think that you noticed that something positive happened in the quads.
Yeah, right, sure. Well, it did. What happened is that each person, the task was, each person would tell a story about something, about an event in their life. I think usually is, something where something good happened, obviously, and so it was positive. And then you took turns in the quad, so everybody would talk about a good experience that they had. So and so everybody talk about the good experience, and then the other people, that person himself and the other people would say, well, okay, what were your, what qualities do you have that help make that good experience happen? And so you're articulating strengths that way.
Right.
Those are strengths. If you have qualities that keep bad things from happening, those are strengths. And so articulating those strengths, and that's what those quads did. And that was and it was basically a positivity thing.
Yes, and it was before the positive psychology movement. You were kind of a trailblazer on the positivity there.
Well, I
Do
don't know.
you remember how the quad process was developed? I know it was a long time ago, but
Well, yeah, it was basically, I think that Bernard Haldane had done something like that
He was
early.
working with vets before he was working with you at the University of Washington. I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah, right. And so he developed some of those basic ideas,
Hmm.
and then I noticed it, and I realized it was a really good idea, and then I tried to expand it and develop it more. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you
Mhm.
mentioned something important, which is that somewhere along the way, although you couldn't say where, you picked up a pretty keen radar for positivity and negativity.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah,
And
right.
I think it was that keen radar that allowed you to say something truly positive and valuable is happening in these quads.
Yeah, oh, for sure, for sure. That I know when the whole group is focusing on just strengths, positivity, that it just creates a different mood. Yeah, that's what the the Gestalt, that's what people are doing. And so that's and that just doing it in a quad for an hour has a carryover effect that you get the idea, oh, and then you do a little bit on your own in one-on-one situations and so forth like that. But the quad idea was where it was really purposely laid out. This is what we do, and so that was important as a building principle to the final product.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you use the word mood because
Yeah,
um, mood is kind of a touchy-feely word, but it goes right back to the word you used to describe your mother. And I think um,
yeah.
that we want to own, and I think you have long owned that mood matters. That
Oh, yeah.
when we make choices about our moods instead of just being in the flow or reactive, right? Instead of being reactive to cultivate a mood, to notice positive things and
Yeah,
positive
I
feelings.
guess I don't think in terms of mood very much.
It's come up twice today, though, and I know that we have not talked about it before, but it seems like a really good word
Yeah, mood.
for a positivity conversation, which it hasn't emerged before.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't think about positivity much in terms of as a mood, but it isn't that's just a name for this for what state you're in at a given time,
Hmm.
and so that's basically what it is. You're trying to change if you're in a bad mood, you need you're better off if you can change it, because if you're in a bad mood, things don't go well typically. I mean, you get worse oftentimes. And so that's when you need to do something, when you recognize, oh, I'm not feeling good here. Uh, and first thing you could say is, what's wrong? How can I fix the problem? And so a lot of people do that, fixing the problem. But basically also but then sometimes it's not that the best way to go about it is fixing the problem, but to look at, well, what what's the best way to feel, or what you want to feel good, you want to feel positive, you can. So you do something like you get into a group or a conversation with a person. Let's focus on what's going really well today, what's really good about your life, and focus on that, and then get the shift over to positivity. And that's what you want, rather than being, getting deeper into this bad mood.
And this has always come naturally to you. And we see the roots of it in your early family life.
Yeah.
And we see the psychological insight from reification and how you can say,
Mhm.
well, perhaps reality can be, so-called reality can be made more positive. And you
Mhm.
see this
Mhm.
effect in the quads where a group of people are sharing positivity and the whole mood of the room
Just
is
sharing,
elevated.
just sharing good experiences.
Yeah,
Just sharing good experiences does it. You
does
know,
it?
people talk about, oh boy, that last night we had this great event and everybody was doing this, but it was a wonderful thing. But it was so much fun. Just sharing that mood that you had, and it
Yeah.
just uplifts everything.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then, and all this you already had observed. And then comes the positive psychology movement. And that
Mm,
must have been a really interesting moment for you with
mm.
with your experience, with your
Yeah, I
personality,
guess
with your values.
it was, yeah, yeah, it was all happening so naturally that I don't remember any breakthrough places. Uh,
Yeah. It
It
all
just
happened around the same
gradually.
time that you retired, but you were already working that way. You were
Yeah, well,
already working with
a lot of
groups.
it was before I retired.
Oh yeah.
The basics for it was from before I retired. Just happened in that period I had more time, I think, to reflect on things, and I wasn't so busy.
Mm.
But it was earlier than that that I really.
So do you think you've become more positive in your later life, or do you think you're just more articulate about the positivity that was already there, or how would you
Yeah,
say?
I'd say the latter. I don't think I've changed that much, but I certainly have become more articulate about it. Yeah, yeah. I think it, as I said, that my mother was that way, and I was basically that way, and I'd have little periods where maybe I wasn't at little periods, but then basically overall I am.
Do you have any idea about what was it that motivated you to want to share that with other people?
Well, basically, my field is counseling, and so that's the since I was started graduate school, that's counseling has been my field, and that's many years ago. So this is all just related to my field that I'm in. That's the field that I'm my field. So it's just natural that it would develop.
It's a no-brainer. If you find something that works, you want to
Yeah, you
share
just
it
keep
with,
doing it and you get to do more of it. Yeah.
yeah. All
Mhm.
right. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that with me. Is there anything else you'd like to say about positivity, your history with
No,
positivity?
no. Oh, yeah, yeah, I didn't, it's kind of useful to go back over it and focus on it like we did. Yeah, but I hadn't, I don't I don't think about all the times in terms of positivity. I don't think.
You just are positive also.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I really, I do, I really do appreciate, I really do, I'm really happy that I am that way. That I and and I think of it as just I didn't make it happen. It was natural, basically.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. But then it happened that I got into the field of psychology, and so you articulate things. You just study. I'm real happy that I did. I've been in psychology all this time, because that's focused my attention on these types of things this way, and I'm real happy about that. And this is my favorite way of talking, and of dealing, and so I'm real lucky, yeah. And I think that, and it was good fortune too to have you come along, or be just by chance, to find someone that I could talk to on a regular basis with similar ideas. That's been real valuable to me. Mhm. Yeah,
Well, I've learned a lot, and I certainly enjoy your positivity and value it.
yeah, yeah,
So we're both glad about that. That's
yeah.
for sure.
Well, we're pretty. think it's, yeah, I feel fortunate to, uh, yeah, about my life and about the way things are.
Mm.
Yeah, I just feel, I guess it's just positive feelings, basically.